We've got John here from Hyperlane. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You've been telling me about your background, but let's get it on record. How'd you get into crypto and how'd you get started with Hyperlane?
I got into crypto, stupidly, as a miner. Started mining Zcash in early 2017. And the thing I found appealing about it is pretty much all of us had encountered Bitcoin for some transactional use case, right? Like buy something from some dude on Reddit, a few years before. Why did we do that? We thought this is an anonymous currency. And then you start learning more and you're like, actually, no, this is not an anonymous currency. This is the most public thing that's ever fucking existed, right? This is it's there forever and someone will eventually figure out who it was. And then, so I'm Israeli, and then I hear about this, group of Israeli professors from a university close to where I grew up, and they have devised a private cryptocurrency, Zcash. And Monero existed at the time, but I'm such a noob, I don't know anything about it. And I'm just like, this thing, it's gonna go off. It's gonna be huge.
Privacy, yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't want private internet money? So I got to get in on this, and I got to benefit from its rise. But at the time, I'm a bond trader at Morgan Stanley. Difficult family situation. I can't be too risky with my cash. And mining felt kind of like a crypto bond. It's I'm going to put my principal down on the equipment, and then I get the returns back. It's kind of like these recurring cash flows, and it's going to be great. It's a low-risk way to getting into crypto, and boy, was that stupid. So now not a fan of mining, but spent the entire of 2017 just getting more and more crypto pills. Was lucky to be in the Bay Area, where a bunch of us were, and it was probably the most vibrant crypto ecosystem in the world at the time.
Oh yeah, I was there. That was the epicenter of crypto at the time, because Blockstream was there, Purse was there, all of the relevant crypto companies, Bitcoin companies were there. Lightning Labs.
Yeah, it really was epicenter is the right word. It really was just it was buzzing.
That was where it was happening. I remember the Digital Garage.
Yes.
That's the right.
Yeah.
Tarek Lewis would host the Bitcoin meetups and Ethereum meetups, and everything was happening there. All of the ICO, not all of them, but 90% of the ICO, 0x, everything was there.
And, just spent that year being mocked by everyone on my trading desk in Morgan Stanley. Hey, you're the crypto guy, you're the crazy guy. And
suits.
Yeah, it was just not a place for me. And by the end of the year, one of our clients was getting into crypto. They're like, hey, John, there's a group there, and you might just be crazy enough for them. They're opening up a crypto fund. You should really talk to them. And 2 weeks later, I got started there.
What fund was that?
It's called Passport Capital. It's still around. It's called Passport. It's been a macro hedge fund for 20-something years. And I was their first hire for the crypto team. And that was my first real break, first legitimate opportunity in crypto, and stayed there for a little while. And then late 2019, joined Galaxy, Mike Novogratz's firm, and then co-ran the investment business there for a few years before, in late 2021, the idea for Hyperlane started to kind of come together. And now, in all this time, so like I mentioned before, I grew up in Israel, and I got an internet connection very early, within my friend and family group. And only had one other friend that had an internet connection, and we were on different ISPs. So not everything worked between us. And then when I learned about blockchains, someone said, hey, these things are not going to be able to talk to each other. I'm super cool internet computers. I remember when I first got into my buddy who was on the different ISP, we couldn't really see the same websites all the time. We're on different portals, as they called them back then. But
different servers.
Within a year and a half, that got fixed, And so it felt like this is just going to be a problem that's just solved very quickly. And then another year goes by, and it really wasn't happening, especially outside. Wasn't really happening for EVMs very much, right? For the Ethereum ecosystem.
Wait, let me stop you there. Why do you think that this was so accelerated in the Web2 world, and in crypto it seems to be the duration?
If I really think about it, I think it's because, and this might not be something that a lot of people like to hear, but I think in the previous world, no one was religious about ISPs, right? There was no dogma when it came to ISPs. People weren't tied to it. It was very strictly these are business operators, and it just made more sense to have a more open web. And the moment that the business proposition was clear that like portals are not it and you should have just a much more open web, everyone converted. But I think in crypto, because we have these communities and we have assets tied to those communities, and people beyond just the assets, they put their life into it. So first they put their life energy into something, but then they have an asset that's associated with it, and sometimes that asset, due to its appreciation or whatever, really changes their life. So there's a bond there that probably never existed.
Right.
And just, like in the other world, it's just, cables and servers. This year it's cables, servers, and like an immense emotional
Right.
bond.
Personal, like identity, culture, even a religion tied to this currency.
Exactly, right? Like no one thinks like, well, AOL, I'm just
Yeah.
like, my life is an AOL.
Yeah.
No one felt that. But there is someone who's like, I'm in Ethereum and I don't want to leave Ethereum.
Right,
Leaving
exactly.
Ethereum is sacrosanct,
I have a Time Warner cable max.
Yeah, exactly. Like, think of even just saying that. Like now you're saying it, I'm like hearing it. I'm like, that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but no one would blink an eye if you said that in crypto about
Right.
like, oh well, I'm an ETH maxi, right? Like that's the everyone might not like it, but you would be surprised if someone said that. So I think that's it, because I think the engineering problems are hard for sure, but I don't think that was it. I think we had solutions, semi-workable solutions to the engineering problems as early as like 2016.
Right. And yeah, similar to that, I mean, the closest analog we have to maximalism in the Web2 world is, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. But even that's kind of not, it's like, okay, whatever, you use an Android, I don't care. But here it's like, you're a Bitcoin maxi?
Get out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk
Yeah,
about
like,
it.
ugh.
So it very much feels like religion, right? It's kind of like me trying to go to my cousin's house, who was a very religious person back in Israel, and trying to bring something not kosher into the house. He wouldn't let me in. He'd kick me out. And like, I don't care, you're my cousin. I'm like, fuck you. So here, like, whoa, you're a Bitcoin max? Like, just yuck. Just
I
stay
already
away.
know what you're like.
Yeah. So that's got to be it. But that was such a good question. I've never even thought about that before today.
Yeah, interesting conversation. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the first times I've articulated this phenomenon too. So yeah, that does make sense why these things are more protracted than other industries. Anyway, going back to Hyperlane, yeah, exactly. And before we even started this podcast, I was like, okay, you're a direct IBC competitor, aren't you? I roll, why should I be interviewing it?
Exactly, right?
Right.
Like, it's that same reaction. It's like, wait, there's, it's almost like, foreign organisms coming in, and like the antibodies are like, what's this here?
Yeah, right. And then you also like to appease me. You're like, well, we're not trying to replace, the IBC connections amongst the Cosmos apps, but for everything else that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's just a protocol.
Right. It's just software, but why do we feel the way that we feel?
Right.
I think I've thought about this a lot, just in other, like, why do people have these strong bonds? And I think a part of it is, for a lot of people, myself included, maybe it's the same for you, like, crypto changed my entire life.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up broke, like, I wouldn't tell you that we were running out of food, but like, we didn't really take vacations growing up. Like, I was a big nerd, really into video games. Like, I'd have to bust my ass off at school, and then like twice a year, like, they'd buy me a video game, and that was like the highlight.
Once a year?
Yeah. Like,
I got my first birthday gift from my parents like when I was like 15 years in.
yeah. So there you go.
Yeah,
So,
I had to beg my mom for the N64. Or maybe like 13 or whatever.
Yeah, I remember getting it. It was like the best. My dad came
It
back
was.
from a trip to the U.S. and like he brought it, and I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing. And so, and like now, really since like the last 3-4 years, is the first time in life that I'm not living like month to month, and it's thanks to crypto.
Yeah, right.
Like that. I was paying for my parents' mortgage. I was doing stuff like that, and still take care of my mom's house. But now that's not. I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
It's all thanks to this industry that I chose to spend time in. And so now I personally might not be very dogmatic about like specific ecosystems, but I am dogmatic about crypto. Like, if someone comes in and like, I go to some dinner and someone's just like very anti-crypto, I get the antibodies immediately. It's like, I want to, it's like, fuck do you know? So it's that same reaction, because this thing, it changed our lives. And how can we not have like an emotional connection to it? So I'm very sympathetic when someone has, an emotional connection that's specific to one ecosystem. It's just all makes sense.
Yeah. The last cycle, it benefited the millennials a lot, in my opinion. A lot of the Gen Z, like the new blood that came in post 2021, a lot of them blew up.
Yep.
If they were short-term speculative traders, especially if they could just listen to all the the YouTubers, right? Like,
Yeah.
get this, get it, whatever. So the Gen Z money really dried up. So yeah, what if in the next one we got some boomer money in?
Well,
The boomers have all of like everyone who is living, they have like more than 60% of the wealth of everyone who is alive today. So that money, once that money gets into crypto, then
hey, if some of it can come in and then that could create a more generational distribution,
Right.
like I'm all for it. Because like you said, I think I have, anyone who's paying attention has seen those graphs where it's like wealth accumulation by generation. And it's like silence, boomers, Gen X, millennials, and
yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite a chunk, right? They've lived through basically like the largest wealth accumulation period in history, especially if they were Americans.
Yeah, they're rich because they lived in that era.
Yeah, just the best.
If you even had some savings as a boomer, you're probably relatively well off.
Yeah, through the, all you even have to do is just like buy a house in a semi-metropolitan area,
Right,
and
yeah.
you're, everyone knows someone who's like, oh yeah, we bought that house in 1973, and like it was $27.
They're like 1,000 next. Whoa.
Yeah, exactly.
How did that happen?
And so, you ever seen those memes where it's like, oh, my parents at 30, and like they have the house, and like me at 30, and I'm like,
Living in a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, living in a closet of an apartment, speculating on like a hamster race
exactly.
coin, like people were doing the other day.
Yeah. So now, if you're trying to survive, if you're trying to thrive in that world in a 9 to 5, you really aren't going to. And if you make an asymmetric bet in something like crypto, like, you're making make it plays,
100%.
like Charlotte Fang says from the lady, right? then you're going to make it.
Yeah, I think that's part of why like the younger generation has found this so appealing, because it's like, well, I need these asymmetric bets because things outside don't feel like they're going in my favor. I think as a movement, like crypto is very subversive, and I think it's a lot
absolutely.
of us who are kind of railing against this. Like I used to work at a bank. I've hated the banks since I've been a fucking teenager because I've been fucked by banks in multiple countries. I've been fucked by the banks in Israel. Then I come to the US and I really like the banks here. They treat me nice. And then I'm a Wells Fargo client in the LA area. So if you remember that scandal, I'm one of those accounts. They stole $900 from me. And, they had to pay a fine, but guess who's running it? The saddest part, guess who still has a Wells Fargo account? Me, because it's so hard to get away from your bank account.
Yeah.
And so when I like came across crypto years ago, I was like, wait a second, we can build like a new financial substrate? Sign me up.
Yeah.
Like, can we fuck the banks with this thing? Like, I'm all in. Like, there's no other thing in the world I want to work for, no other industry. Like, how do I get into this thing?
Right.
And, going back to the Hyperlane thing, right now it felt, or a couple of years ago, it felt like for the crypto economy to really expand, to kind of take that next step, the Cosmos thesis was always the right one. Instead of like one big massive computer, we're going to have a whole lot of small ones. And so if that's happening, like how are we connecting them? And it was clear by 2021 that it was not going to be a single environment or a single ecosystem. So how do you create that connective tissue? And that's when we got together and sat with, incredible folks like, Zaki and Nam and Asa are now my co-founders, and came with, what is now Hyperlane.
Okay, well, excellent. So, we're gonna close up real quickly. So the last question would be, okay, you are an IBC competitor. However, you are addressing interoperability similarly to like layer 0 in the EVM ecosystem.
That's right. Yeah, and the key insight with Hyperlane is the same key principle of IBC. Why is IBC so unique? Because it's permissionless. Because anyone can connect it to any chain that's suitable, and that suitable part is like the main restriction. The reason why we even felt compelled to make Hyperlane. If IBC was easily extensible to any environment, we just go from that. But we wanted to create something that has that same permissionless aspect. Anyone can use it to connect any chain, and again, be very extensible. So the any chain part was very important. And so Whereas things like layer 0 and others let you just, they have to deploy to your chain. They are kind of the arbiters of which chains get to talk to each other. Hyperlane brings that same concept from the spirit of IBC of just, you should be able to decide that. You should be able to bring it to your chain because, again, if we're going to see, and this is what I firmly believe, we're just going to see an explosion of these chains. The number is going to be gargantuan, but it's going to be a lot of smaller chains, again, less generalized and much more specific. And in that world, you need to be able to do it yourself, and you need to be able to have that sovereign connection. And so that's really what we're going after. And that's why we want to be able to support as many environments and let people connect between those environments. So you spin up your app chain tomorrow, great. Like you can put Hyperlane on that app chain, the Cosm Waza module, the Cosmos Decay module, those will be done basically by the end of summer. Run those, and now you can connect with anywhere else where Hyperlane is at. So, you know, the focus is certainly to go between environments and help people do that permissionlessly. But people could use it between Cosmos chains. I don't know why they would when they have IBC, but I guess they could. But yeah, that's the spirit of what we're doing.
Okay, and we're going to have to bring you back on to Interchain FM
Please.
later on for a full interview where we break all of that down to understand the technical idiosyncrasy between all of these different transport layers. This is just, you know, like a little teaser, you know, so you get the 20,000 foot view idea about what Hyperlane is. And we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was great.